When India made a deal with Armenia to supply rocket artillery and ammunition, Azerbaijan criticized India's weapons as substandard. This criticism likely stemmed from geopolitical frustration rather than any actual flaws in Indian weaponry. However, reports suggest that Azerbaijan has indirectly explored the possibility of acquiring Indian arms through a third-party intermediary, possibly Israel. India ignored these overtures, underscoring its careful balancing of strategic interests and principles. But the question is, why would Azerbaijan criticize Indian weapons at first, only to seek them later, especially when its defense ties with Turkey and Israel are so strong? And why take an indirect approach, though? A possible explanation for Azerbaijan's indirect approach could be that Indian weapons are often more cost-effective than those from the US, France, or other Western countries, making them a practical choice to fill gaps in its arsenal without exceeding its defense budget. However, there might be hidden motives behind these actions, suggesting that the true intentions are not as straightforward as they appear. The first could be that Azerbaijan is likely testing India's neutrality. If India were to engage in supplying weapons to Azerbaijan, even indirectly, Azerbaijan could claim that India's relationship with Armenia is purely transactional. This would strain Armenia-India ties and cast doubt on India's sincerity as a partner. At the same time, this strategy enables Azerbaijan to test India's willingness to provide arms while avoiding direct rejection or criticism. The second reason might be to put psychological pressure on Armenia. The mere act of approaching India, even indirectly, sends a message to Armenia that India might not be fully aligned with Armenian interests. This could subtly undermine Armenia's sense of security in the partnership. However, India's lack of engagement rendered this tactic ineffective. By ignoring Azerbaijan's overtures, India underscores its unwavering commitment to strategic diplomacy, ensuring its partnerships are built on consistent principles and not swayed by opportunistic tactics. Azerbaijan has relied on Turkey and Israel for military hardware. However, recent global dynamics, such as Israel's focus on the Gaza conflict and reduced exports, have pushed Azerbaijan to explore new sources of arms. Despite its modern arsenal, gaps may still exist in areas like artillery, where India has developed significant expertise. Indian weapons are gaining global attention, particularly in developing countries and regions, seeking effective alternatives to Western or Chinese arms. The Pinaka have demonstrated effectiveness in diverse terrains, making them attractive to countries with varied needs. India's arms exports have grown significantly, reaching $2.5 billion in the last fiscal year and projected to hit $6 billion by 2029. Defense companies like Yantra and Munitions India are producing large quantities of ammunition and components, exporting them to countries like Italy, Spain, and the Czech Republic. There are even reports suggesting that Indian munitions are indirectly being supplied to Ukraine via European partners. While it is not certain, it is highly probable that India would not supply weapons to Azerbaijan, especially given the sensitivity of its ties with Armenia and broader regional strategic goals. India values its political and strategic partnership with Armenia, particularly in the context of the Jammu and Kashmir issue, where Armenia has been supportive of India's stance. Supplying weapons to Azerbaijan could harm this relationship and jeopardize India's carefully cultivated credibility. India has historically avoided situations where arms from its allies could end up in the hands of adversaries. For instance, India previously intervened to prevent Russia from supplying advanced weapons to Pakistan. This precedent suggests that India would be cautious about arming Azerbaijan due to its close ties with Pakistan. It would likely avoid actions that could escalate tensions in the South Caucasus or undermine its commitment to maintaining balanced and thoughtful partnerships.